What's up, everybody? Live from the Bayside Bunker. It's another special edition of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, with my co-host, Patrick Kunsel, as it is Breeders' Cup week, and we are going to cover the Early Pick 5, the Early Pick 5 on Friday. It is races 1 through 5. The Breeders' Cup races are 6 through 10, Pat, but tons of people are going to be watching, and we know you guys are going to, we know these people out here are going to be betting those first 5 races. So even though they're not Breeders' Cup races, they're still very stacked and packed in there.
Yeah, for sure, Kyle. These, we're delivering a ton of content this week, obviously, and have been for the last week or so when this will be released. But I will say these early sequences are still pretty good, and they're big fields, right? Especially with some of the Calbred races. The purses, you got to take advantage of these.
Oh yeah.
And it seems like owners, trainers are doing so. So yeah, this is a good early pick 5 sequence on Friday and a good start to the BCBC, right?
Yep, and you're talking about it. I mean, this allowance optional 50, which is the first race we're covering, is $175,000 purse. So, yeah, taking advantage of those purses, I'm sure a lot of these trainers and owners will be trying for that. But of course, we don't just do this during the Breeders' Cup. We do this every single week, 52 weeks a year on the HHH Racing Podcast. So, you can see our normal podcast schedules. We have live podcasts every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night at the bottom of the screen. Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Pacific Horseplayers. Wednesday at 8 p.m. is Bettin N Boozin with us, and Thursday at 8 p.m. is Picks and Ponies with Howard, Pete, and Paul. And then all those can also be found over on audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. So please rate and view and subscribe over there if you're more of an audio listener. We also have TikTok and Instagram at Bettin N Boozin Podcast. I'll be posting a bunch of stuff here for the Breeders' Cup and maybe some shenanigans from whatever the heck we're going to get into this weekend. Of course, we have our normal power picks, guys. They, again, run 52 weeks out of the year. They're sent to you every single Saturday, whether you're playing the horses or not, but we know you guys will be. That's all done through Patreon, patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. You get 2 full tracks of picks every single Saturday, price plays, spot plays, pick 5 grids, anything you need to be successful on any given Saturday. We here at the HHH Racing Podcast have you covered with the power picks. And depending on when you're watching this, guys, the Breeders' Cup power picks might still be available. We're recording this around Tuesday early afternoon, and they are alive till Wednesday at noon Eastern time. So if you're watching this when it comes out on Tuesday, you still have time to get in on the 2025 Breeders' Cup power picks from the HHH Racing Podcast. And it's an absolute ton of information, guys. It is actually 30 pages of info. I got that update yesterday when we had our live show for the draw. Over 30 pages of info. And if you're a normal Saturday Power Pick subscriber, you get it for only $35. You get a $10 discount from the non-Power Pick subscribers, which is more than fine. You get them for $45, which still brings it out to a page, $1.50 a page or whatever it is. It's a fantastic deal, and as unbiased as I can say this, guys, for the amount of money you're spending, you get an absolute ton of information for both Friday and Saturday of the Breeders' Cup. You get full write-ups for every single Breeders' Cup race, including top threes from every single co-host on the HHH Racing Podcast and host for that matter. But also you get price plays, spot plays, pick 5 grids, and everything that comes with our normal power picks, but on a much grander scale. So if you're watching this on Tuesday when it comes out, please head on over to hhhracingpodcast.com and get your power picks today. Pat, let's not keep anyone waiting here, of course. Cheers to everyone out there. Let's hope we can catch some winners early on the Friday card. And Friday starts with that aforementioned allowance optional claiming race for $175,000 for the purse, a 1 mile on the dirt trip. Pretty quick run up to that first turn, Pat, especially with a full field of 12 in here. Mixture, you got some Calbreds in there. Even one Florida bred in there makes the appearance, but the morning line favorite is the number 1 Westwood, Hector Barrios, John Sheriff, 7-2. Second choice, number 9, Brazenly Irad. Will Walden brings in this 7-year-old, 9-2 on the morning line. Your third choice is the 2 6-1 horses on the outside for McCarthy and Papadromo. Pat, I'll bring up our picks right now. You and I are both going with the number 1 Westwood, and you were talking to me before the show. You tried everything you could to try and find someone to beat this horse, to try and get a little bit of a price to kick off our Breeders' Cup weekend. However, was not in the cards.
No, right? Kyle, I just looked thoroughly through this race, and it was tough. Westwood is tactical. Obviously, only 1 for 7, but has been in the money 5 out of 7 lifetime. And I just think the quality of this horse, the price tag they paid, the consistency, kind of just putting it all together here, should get it the right set
Mhm.
here. I think, right. I mean, I don't see how this horse doesn't have, get out of the gate well, obviously getting the inside post, but there's ample amount of speed to the outside. Uh, that is going to cause this pace to be pretty quick going 2 turns here. And yeah, I'm not going to try and beat Westwood. I don't know what the price is going to be. 7-2. I do not think we're getting.
Yeah, it might be lower than that. I don't think it's gonna be too low though. I think probably 5-2 is more fair than 7-2. However,
Mhm.
um, I agree with you on everything you said. Even though Westwood's one win is on the lead and kind of just inherited that lead, Pat. I don't know necessarily if he's a really all go out speed horse. If he's able to sit a pocket type trip, and I really like the rail draw for that. Hector Barrios has ridden this horse twice and ridden to that one win and that second place the last 2 times out. This should just be a really nice trip. And even though it looks like on numbers he's the best horse in the race, he might just win on trip alone. Pat, you have the number 8 in second. I don't have this horse anywhere, but tranche for Adam Kitchingman and Carmona. This is one that's run some really nice races down at Santa Anita. Even went over to Turf Paradise for a turf trip, but definitely much better on the dirt, Pat. And if he runs back to those 91 buyers, even mid 80s buyers, he is well of a chance in here.
Yeah, the consistency's just not really there. Obviously, 1 for 16 lifetime, which isn't too good. But the thing that gets me is speed figure wise, this horse fits, and I just feel like when this horse gets out of the gate well. From that outside draw or towards the outside, looking through the PPs, this horse gets courageous and is able to hang on. And at that price, I'm willing to take a chance in here. I just think the numbers, of the trainer haven't been too great, but looking through the workouts and stuff like that, horse has been there, and the mile distance I shouldn't be a problem. Has been doing it consistently and has made a jump doing it. So yeah, listen, I'm gonna try and catch a price underneath with the one Westwood on top.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right, Pat? You hit on it where the consistency is not there. And even when he's running, excuse me, these big numbers, he's just not really doing it, very convincingly, if you will. Only ran half a length behind Brazenly, which 2 back in June at Santa Anita. This horse will be coming off a little bit of a layoff too. It'll only be about 2.5 months per se, but still good enough to make me think otherwise. However, maybe this horse just needs a little bit of time off and be able to run well. But that's the one thing is, are you willing to trust this horse at whatever price you're going to get? Obviously, I would have to get paid to trust that horse. But Brazenly is a horse to the outside of the 8, the number 9. Irad hops aboard this one. This one's been very competitive out on the East Coast circuit ever since getting the ship over to the Will Walden barn. Was a favorite in starter allowance condition at Churchill going a mile. Of course, that being a 1 turn mile. Didn't run bad necessarily, but obviously being evens on the day, you'd hope for a little bit better. But second off of the trainer switch, ran much better with a little bit of a slower pace. That's also a 1 turn mile out at Aqueduct, going 24, basically 24, 24, 24, or 25, excuse me, for the quarter splits. Was still able to close decently well from kind of a mid pack area of a field of 8. Drew outside that day, as he does here. 7 years old, obviously, is the one question mark. However, has shown that he can handle this Del Mar surface before. Was running a ton of 90 buyers out here last year. You could argue that maybe his best days are just behind him. However, getting Irad aboard here makes me think that he's at least a little bit live. So I definitely want to have him somewhere on my tickets. Pat, last horse we'll talk about, you and I both have in the underneath position. This is legitimate, the number 11, Mike McCarthy. Flavian Pratt hops aboard this one. This is coming off just a one number horse, basically, right? Last time out ran an 83 buyer. However, that was on a wet fast Santa Anita track, going a mile and an off the turf race. And also that was what, 9 months ago. So again, lots of question marks here. And that's the thing for me is when there's a lot of question marks here, I would like to get at least a little bit of a price to try and see if this horse is ready coming off the layoff. Obviously, McCarthy is very, very good in his own right and has, brought horses off these layoffs many times before. But there's just a little too many question marks for me to have this horse anywhere above third.
For sure. I echo all the statements you just made. I just the horse, besides the fact that ran a hole in the wind last time on when we see a wet surface at Santa Anita. When's the last time we saw that?
Yeah, no kidding.
When we look at that and you see that number, obviously you question it, but everything's there for this horse to be good, right, Kyle? I
Mhm.
mean, you just look at the connections and then you look at the workouts and stuff like that and the numbers that back it up. That's why I had to put this horse in my top three. It's going to be interesting to see how this horse is bet, because if it's getting bet, then we kind of know
Yeah.
this horse is going to run well.
Well, right. And the thing is that this horse ran, even though it's a one number, right? Still ran an 83 buyer technically in her 2-year-old season,
It's true.
because that was at the very end of it, has gotten time off until now. And obviously McCarthy believes enough in legitimate to be able to put him on Breeders' Cup, Friday in one of these allowance optional claimings to hopefully catch a nice purse for the connections of Ammerman Racing and of course Mike McCarthy. But yeah, I think 6-1. You might even get lower than that on the day. And again, if you are getting lower than that, you might have to take a second look at legitimate, because he might just be that. In race number 1 on Breeders' Cup Friday, I'm going 1-9-11. Pat's going 1-8-11. Pat's now starts the stakes festivities on the card. The next race up is the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance Stakes, and I bring up the Echo Base to take a look at. It's a field of 9 as I put it up on the screen right now, with a pretty heavy favorite in the Baffert run of the number 5 Plutarch for Flavian Pratt hopping aboard 2-1 on the morning line. Your second choice is number 2 Conducted. Hector Barrios rides 3-1 on the morning line. Your third choice is shared between the number 4 Proton and the number 8 Dr. Agni. Jose Ortiz hops aboard for the 8, and Johnny V hops aboard Proton, the number 4. As I put up our picks on the screen right now, Pat's going with the number 2 Conducted, the second choice. I'm going with the number 8 Dr. Agni, and I swear, and everyone can deduce why, but I promise that's not the only reason why it is. But Pat, you're going with the California connections here on this one, coming off a nice win last time at Santa Anita.
Yeah, really like the way that horse kicked away late. Pace was pretty quick. Did set his own pace, but I just was impressed by that, and I like the trajectory this horse is on. We'll be dealing with a lot of other speeds in here. I'm just hoping this horse is going to be the best and the fastest. Time form would indicate this horse is pretty fast and is able to hold it. And I think that mile this horse likes. So, I'm not going to get cute in here. I do think there's others in here that, like I said, are going to be vying for it. The 6, who they have on the lead here, Kyle. Listen, this horse is fast out of the gate. It's just I don't know how this horse is going to take to the turf and if
Yep.
what the quality is there. So I'm not too nervous about that. But yeah, listen, at the end of the day here, Barrios has to get this horse out of the gate and did that last time out. So I'm going to ride that train and hope a wire to wire is in play. And I'm hoping the 5 gets bet pretty good.
Yeah, I think she will, or he will. I keep saying she. Every horse is a she until further
Well,
known.
because we
But
usually mess it up the other way, right? We
yeah,
usually,
yeah.
yeah.
Now we're overcorrecting as you do in golf a lot of the time. Trust me, I know too well about that. And I do like the points you made about Conducted. I probably overlooked this horse a little bit just because of the speed. However, it's a lock just to the outside. A horse that neither of us have anywhere. Coming over from Goldstream, even though the last time out didn't break that well, it usually is very, very fast out of the gate. And that's how Jose D'Angelo likes to work his horses as well, to have some very nice gate speed. So it'll be very interesting to see how It's a Lock runs from that scenario. Obviously, you touched on the 6 Italio for Los Alamitos type connections. So there's a little bit of speed to try and pressure, but I agree that he's probably the speed of the speed. If he gets out in front, it could be very tough to catch him. Also, the one to the inside, Doug O'Neill, showed some speed last time out, going 6 furlongs, now getting out to a mile. Could just be the horse on the front end. I'm going with the number 8, Dr. Agni. And I really think that the form of this horse is a little bit muddied up. I don't feel like he's run that bad in his last two, losing both to final score. Here's Johnny, who is in the juvenile turf later on in the day as well. And I'm going to show the last run in the Bourbon at Keeneland, as you guys can see right now. Dr. Agni, you're looking is the horse. I gotta remember which number she is. He is the 12 on the outside. That's what I thought. Pretty far, was far back, got rushed up a little bit, has been wide the entirety of the way. And as I skip to the top of the stretch, I mean, he's still running pretty well out here and will just end up getting nailed for show. But being wide the whole time at Keeneland, that wide sweeping move was really not where you wanted to be. More so on the dirt, but definitely on the turf as well. Kind of just gives it up there at the end to the 8 that just popped by. However, I really think that his form is just a little bit muddied up comparatively. You're getting Jose, who is Cherie's number 1 guy, back aboard here and should sit a nice middle trip. And if the 6 or someone else does heat up with your 2, Pat, I really think Dr. Agni could have a really nice trip in here. And you're also talking about, well, our West Coast guys hate to hit on it, but talking about the East Coast turf horses coming over to face the West Coast.
Yeah, you are. You brought that up, not me. No,
Yeah.
but Kyle, you look at the dam side, right? Lady Eli,
Yep.
looking through those PPs, you look back, when this horse won the Breeders' Cup juvenile, what was it?
Philly's turf.
The turf,
Right here.
yeah. I mean, listen, this horse likes the mile. So I think, the way she did it, why can't he do it? And why can't he appreciate the mile, right?
Yep. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And again, I just think the form's a little bit muddied up, and I think you're going to get a decent price somewhere in the 5-6 to 1 range on Friday. Pat, going to the number 5, the most likely morning line favorite. This horse absolutely close from the clouds in the Del Mar Juvenile Turf.
Yeah.
I mean, he might as well have been in Los Angeles running to San Diego that time. Getting Pratt aboard, this horse is going to take money. Of course, Baffert tried on the dirt last time in the American Pharoah and actually ran pretty well. Now, obviously, Bob thinks this horse is more meant for turf, so putting back on here. But again, this type of move for Bob Baffert really has not been favorable on the ROI side for him at all. And I'll bring it up on the screen while you talk about him.
Yeah, that, and if you could bring up the replay of the stretch, this
Yep.
horse was green. Oh gosh, it was the way Hernandez was able to just get this horse to kind of level off at the end was impressive because he was all over the place, and I didn't know what to do with him, knowing the talents there. But you're right, Kyle. You can't bet this horse the way the way this horse has been campaigned. It's just tough to bet this horse right now.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, in this race, he did lose to Hey Nene, who is also in the juvenile turf later on the card. So take that for what it is. But yeah, I mean, I showed it on the screen, Pat. Bob, over the last 5 years with this type of dirt to turf area, is only 9 for 70. In the last 5 years, Bob has won 30% of his races. In that type of category, he's winning 13%. So again, take it for what you will. But again, a horse that's going to be very low price, Pat, it would be very tough to trust for me.
Yeah, and he has been bet like a Baffert, a good Baffert is. And I just, as you can see here on the replay for those watching on YouTube, this horse just can never level off. Was on the wrong lead. Hernandez is trying hardest. Not going to say he was ever going to beat who was it? Intrepido, right? I believe.
No, it was Hey Nene.
Oh, Hey Nene in that race, correct. Yeah, was never going to be Hey Nene, but listen, my point is just this horse. The horse needs to figure it out a little bit more. And
I'm not saying the horse is not talented, right?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, it took a lot to close, especially on the Del Mar turf course, which is not exactly the most conducive to that type of trip. But I mean, you're talking about green as can be, and that with that type of dirt to turf effort, Bob's just not that good on the turf, realistically. You could see in the last year, 89 times, 12% with a 0.93 ROI, and you're definitely not getting the price here to find out with Pratt aboard. So going to be looking other places, the both of us are. And the last horse we'll talk about later than planned for D'Amato and Umberto Rispoli. This horse ran really well in both route and the sprint, then broke his maiden going a route very, very nicely, wrapped up by the end of it. and you're going Santa Anita in the flat 5 at speed and the speakeasy and still closes really, really well. So you could argue this horse is really nice at both distances. Just a matter of trying to take another step forward at that type of routing distance for me. It's D'Amato, Rispoli. This horse will be bet on the West Coast, but D'Amato is much, much better with this type of move. Although I guess not by much. You can see 15% on the lower side, but if you go to turf and you go sprints to routes, which I'm going to have to go over here for, or routes to sprints, excuse me. No, sprints to routes. That was like the first time. You apply the filter, 18%, $2.04 on the ROI. So this type of move, D'Amato's very well versed in and still has that positive ROI to go along with it. Not to mention Little Red Feather Racing and Billy Koch, very, very good owners out on the West Coast. In the thoroughbred after Carolina, so I'm going 875. Pat's going 258. Pat, the next race is the Golden State Juvenile Fillies. These are for Calbred 2-year-old fillies. Going 7 furlongs on the dirt with another full field of 12, Pat. Again, while you can say that, there might not be any Breeders' Cup fields in here, there's a ton of big and very competitive ones at that. The morning line favorite is a very lukewarm 7-2 with the number 4, Miss Kona. Fantastic beer, by the way, but hopefully for the horse. Free Sue hops aboard Peter and 7-2 on the morning line. Second choice, the number 9, Mohaven for Hector Barrios, John Sadler at 4-1. Third choice, there's 2 of them, both at 9-2. The number 7, Too Sassy, and the number 12, Liberation. As I bring our picks up on the screen right now, Pat, you are going with one of those 9-2 horses in the number 12, Liberation. I'm going with the number 9, Mohaven, who is the second choice on the board. But Pat, what'd you like most about the number 12, Liberation, who's coming off another nice effort in the last time at an optional claiming at Santa Anita?
Yeah, if this horse was drawn a little more to the inside, the 12 is just a little too far out for me. I would love this horse even more, but I do think this Calbred, she's talented and she possesses a lot of speed. I think her speed is more evident watching replays than it is, kind of obviously what time form has I rely on a lot. But my point being is I just really think this horse is pretty quick out of the gate, and I think that's going to be effective in here. It does signal a fast pace, which, listen, this horse has shown it could stalk now too. That last race, which was lower than a buyer than I'd prefer, I'm hoping that this horse can do that again in here in a division that they butt heads all the time, right? These
Yeah,
these fillies have faced each other a lot. And you look at Too Sassy, who's in here, the 7. That horse is 9-2 on the morning line, was 25-1
yeah.
in that state bred stake race. So you kind of have to play some odds too, right, Kyle? You gotta understand that this horse is 25-1. Now you're gonna take 9-2.
Correct. And I have her in third just because I do actually like that last run. However, again, you talked about the pace and error. I'm just not sure what the pace and error is going to be, but I do really like that Liberation has shown the ability to stalk now twice.
Yeah.
Last time you could argue, no, she was not that far off, but she was 3 wide in the clear the whole time. Sat a nice little bit off of the 2 leaders that were in front. And again, Pat mentioned it's not only California breds. I mean, we talked about it before the show. It's kind of just a lot of state bred company, New York, Florida. They really all run against each other all year long. So you got to try and find who's going to be, in the right place at the right time and at the right price for that matter in this race. But I do like the number 12 Liberation for all the things that you mentioned, Pat. I have the number 9 Mohaven on top. And while she was behind Too Sassy last time, they're taking the blinkers off, going to try and get her to relax a little bit more. And you're getting a little bit extra ground, right? You're going from the 5.5 to the 7. And although we talk about how horses, even though they're stretching out in these types of closers, they might not have that same type of kick that they have going the 5.5. But however, Bahama Mischief was a nice, was still a maiden, but still ran some decent numbers going the type of route of ground that she's going to be going today. Obviously, buy into Mischief. Another Yaupan filly. Yaupan, we all know, has had a fantastic start to his stallion career. 27 for 116 total. For his 2-year-olds, that's 23%. And in the dirt sprints category, 26% on the win end. So Yelpon's having a fantastic start. This horse was bought for $200K. It went right to John Sadler, who's done actually a really nice job. Again, two back, just kind of inherited the lead and won very easily. I think this horse is better going sitting that type of middle stalking trip, which could be exactly what the doctor ordered in here with the speed that's going to be in front of her. And John Sadler does very, very well with his 2-year-old. So going to look to Mohaven to bring a really nice win at a decent price, somewhere around 4-1, 7-2 in that range. Pat, you have this horse in third, excuse me, but you also have the number 4, the morning line favorite, Miss Kona, in here. So I'll leave it to you to wrap up this race.
Yeah, I'll talk about Miss Kona a little bit. I think her debut at Del Mar in the middle of August was impressive visually because you don't really see horses make up too much ground the way she did. Now, listen,
Mm-hmm.
that pace did fall apart. I mean, listen, it wasn't that much faster than the race she ran last time. So, and she did win that race and obviously dropped a little bit in Beyer. So, what I'm getting to here is just that I think everybody realized that this horse showed some talent and didn't really show her age that much
Yeah.
on debut. And that's kind of where I'm signaling that she should appreciate some speed signed on and the post position. So I'll give her another chance in here to hopefully make it back to back.
Yeah, and this is just one that's going to take a lot of money. However, you are
Yeah.
getting that extra furlong as well, which could just benefit her into the winner's circle. Really, Frusu is fantastic. Stays on this horse again for the 3rd time in a row. So lots of different ways you can go in the Golden State Juvenile Fillies. But I'm going 9, 12, 7. Pat's going 12, 4, 9. Pat, the penultimate leg of the early pick 5 on Friday is the Senator Ken Maddie Stakes. It's a quick flat 5. So, I'm very excited for this one, but it draws another full field of 10. The morning line favorite being the number 4, Queen Maxima, the Florida bred for Juan Hernandez. Jeff Mullins, 5-2 on the morning line. Second choice, the New York bred, the number 6, Shoot It True. Luan Machado hops back aboard on this one for Wesley Ward at 3-1. Your third choice is just to her outside a Japanese invader in this race, which I found very interesting. The number 7, Puro Magic for Yoshihara and Yasuda, 4-1 on the morning lines. I bring our picks up on the screen right now. Pat, you are going with the number 6, Shoot It True. I'm going with the little bit off the beaten path, I guess, with the number 9, Great Venezuela, who's
You and
6
your
to 1.
Florida Breds.
Dude, what can I say, man? I'm a changed man now. But either way, Pat, obviously Shoot It True. Really, really good the last 2 efforts after switching to the turf. Looking to continue it here.
Yes, you nailed that on the head. I really like the way she's gotten and ran on the turf, especially at Saratoga. Those fields weren't the easiest, and I think that last race, at the end of the Saratoga meet, a couple horses came back. Was it Tales of the Heart? Yeah, that horse for Resolute and Maker. That horse did come back to win at Keeneland in an allowance race. So that race was pretty good. Horses came back to hit the board in there in some allowance spots at Aqueduct. This horse is just tactical. The versatility this horse has shown has been tremendous. So I think that there's got to be confidence in Wesley shipping this horse out west with a couple other of his horses, obviously. So that leads me to believe that this horse is going to run a big one, and she should have the lead to herself with the early speed.
Yeah, and obviously I can bring that up too right now. I think Shoot It True really is the goods. It's just a matter of how will she take to that type of flat 5 distance. You'll
Mhm.
see they have her on the lead. Number 3, though, although she really hasn't been that fast on the turf, Tahini has been pretty quick out on the West Coast for Papa Geromo. And then the other horse that was on the lead is the number 10, Marion Cross. So 2 long shots that have been forwardly placed. That one at Indy for Brendan Walsh and Oisin Murphy, who is shipping in to ride some of these lower stakes, which is nice to see. I am going with the number 9 in this race. Great Venezuela, a horse that's going to be probably a little bit more forwardly placed, if not right next to where Shoot It True has been in her previous 2 races. I just like how she's run this type of distance, the flat 5. She's 4 for 4 in the money down at Gulfstream and at Tampa. Granted, probably a little bit lower competition than what's running against today. However, the numbers back it up. She's run anywhere between mid 80s and even popped a 96 on the synthetic at Gulfstream Park in the course the middle of the summer, going 5.5. But I really do like how this horse has gotten over the flat 5 distance. Being to the outside might be favorable in the fact that there's a couple of horses to her inside that might not want to be that close to the lead. So being with that, I think she might be able to tuck in nicely. That turn does come up pretty quick, though. I mean, she's also 14 for 14. She's never been out of the money, and that's 8 for 14 on the win end. Granted, again, all down at Gulfstream Park, being a Florida bred. And she has, although that last race at Monmouth was what gave me a little bit of confidence, Pat, because she showed that she can at least ship, and this is obviously a whole different version of shipping, right? But she has the ability to ship and run well. So, and obviously, I'm sure that last one was kind of a test run here for Barbosa to try and ship to the West Coast to run in the center of K Maddie.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, why they are doing this. But this horse is just runs her race every time, and I think that I'm not sure if there's any, and I don't know if you know the answer, if there's any incentives to shipping in here, if they have that ship and win at all still going on. But I mean, you got to take advantage of these purses, and they're doing so. And this horse has a big shot, Kyle. I agree with you. I do like this horse quite a bit too, and our boy Junior, our friend, I should say, Junior gets on board.
Yeah,
Right?
and that's the thing that I also like too is that Junior hops aboard this horse. Obviously, Florida mainstay Lionel Reyes has been riding this horse every single time, even shipped up to Monmouth last time, but obviously not going to ship across the country for one race, especially worth 200,000. So Junior Alvarado more than happy with him to hop aboard this one to hopefully pilot to a win. And the last horse I want to talk about, Pat, is Puro Magic. Although you have the 4 in there. Queen Maxima, who was the morning line favorite. So let's talk about Queen Maxima first, then I'll get into the Japanese Invader. Jeff Mullins has been running this horse at every 6.5 down the hill, 5.5 at Churchill, mile at Del Mar, flat 5 last time in the Green Flash. Last time was probably a little bit too far back, but has handled flat 5 before well.
Yeah, that's my thing, and I think that last race was she just didn't really. She got bumped early, and it was a kind of a disaster from there. So I don't really credit that, and fault her for that. I should say, Kyle. This horse is probably the class of the field. I don't know. I'm not confident in her. I think it's shoot it true, or it really could honestly be anybody. But I do have to give her some credit, and I will have her on tickets if she's reasonably bet.
Yeah, and I think 5-2 is probably a good, just because she's ran so well over the last cup. I mean, she shipped from the West Coast and won the Unbridled Sydney at Churchill Downs on Derby weekend. I believe that was that Friday or was that Derby this year? I can't remember what the second was, although I do know it was that weekend. She ran super well that day.
That was Friday.
Was it Friday? Okay, so
Yeah.
it was Oaks Day. Hasn't run that number since. However, again, didn't exactly get off to the best start last time. She's a lot more tactical than she showed last time in the Green Flash. So hopefully she can be a little bit closer if you do like her on Friday. Last horse I want to talk about is the Japanese. I just find this to be a very interesting entrant in this race. And she's run the flat 5 before and run very well. Although the Japanese do like to run a lot of their turf sprints over the 6 furlong distance rather than the flat 5. But in the Ibis Summer Dash, ridden by Christophe Lemaire, ran very well. It was a little bit tactical in that race too, which is something that I liked as well. It'll be very interesting to see how she's bet on the day, because if she's taking any type of money, I feel like you have to pay attention. But I could see this one going off at 4-1. I could see this horse going off at 8-1. So it's kind of depending on the money on the day. But I really find this to be a very fascinating entrant for an undercard on Breeders' Cup Day. That probably was one that just shipped along with the rest of them. They thought had a really good chance to win this race. But again, just fascinating to me that this horse is even in the race at all. In the center to Ken Maddie, I'm going 9-6-7. Pat's going 6-4-9. Pat, last race we'll talk about is the Golden State Juvenile, which is the last race before we get into the Breeders' Cup action on Friday, which of course started by the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, a race that I know all too well for the men behind me. But Pat, the Golden State Juvenile is a field of 10 as I bring it up on the screen right now. Through Equibase, the morning line favorite is number 2, Ocean Bear, Umberto Rispoli for Papadromo, 5-2 on the morning line. Your second choice is number 9, Thirsty Rebel. Obviously this is all Calbreds. Abel Escano, Doug O'Neill, 7-2, and your third choice is Sammy Davis, Hector Barrios for John Sadler, 9-2 on the morning line. As I bring up our picks right now, Pat, you're going with the morning line favorite in the number 2, Ocean Bear. I'm going with an 8-1 horse ridden by Irad, so who knows what he'll actually be. But Fianello for Steve Knapp, 8-1 again on the morning line. Pat, of course, going to you first. You are going with the morning line favorite to end. Basically, you have a lot of prices in between, but to kick it off and to end it, you're going with the morning line favorite.
Yeah, chalk eating weasel. That's starting to finish.
You weasel. You weasel.
No, I think this is going to be Ocean Bear's setup again. This horse is just getting wicked paces to run into and gets added ground to the 7 furlongs for the first time. I don't see why that won't benefit him in here, Kyle. And I'm hoping that this horse, hasn't had the cleanest of trips either. Looking at the last race, the horse had to find a hole late to get up, and then it was ended up breaking away and opening up. But it has seen a little bit of a steady progression here too, right? So I think this Calbred, a homebred for Rich Barton, will appreciate the horses in front of him wanting to go. Listen, I hate taking short prices in these races, and I do give you credit for trying to find a price because, like we talked about earlier, these horses love to knock heads and give each other a lot of different wins and losses throughout their time running in these ranks.
Yeah, and he's really done it the best out of everyone, you would argue in here. And 5-2 might just be a good enough price to try and take I'm really taking a shot, of course, with the morning line favorite, but the most consistent runner out of the group for sure. As I bring up the time from here, another quick pace headed by the number 6, Sammy Davis in here, but the 5, Can't Help Myself, is not slow at all, but that's another Sadler with the 6, so I'd imagine that they will not butt heads. But the number 7, Southern Melody for Craig Dawlice is going to be quick as well, along with the number 9, Thirsty Rebel, who has not been slow in any of his starts. So lots of speed to contend with in here. Holy crap, what the heck happened there? But a lot of speed to contend with in here. And that's why Pat ended up with number 2, Ocean Bear. That's why I like the number 3, Fianello, even though really hasn't had the consistency that the number 2, Ocean Bear has. 2 back in the I'm Smoking, ran very well at 20. Granted, at 28-1, you're getting, a third of that, if you will, in this race, maybe even a quarter of that. But I really do like how this horse was progressing until the last one. Obviously, threw in a little bit of a dud there against many of the same company last time out, but has shown a lot better runs on the Del Mar service. And you're picking up Irad in here, who is, as much as Noah pains to say it, is a little bit of an upgrade over Ayuso. So again, should sit a nice tactical trip in the middle here, and you're getting, hopefully the IRAD text doesn't phase me too much, and you're still able to get somewhere in the 7-8-1s. That would be what I needed to try and take a shot to beat the number 2, Ocean Bear, which again, a lot of these horses just continue to butt heads. Pat, you're going with the number 6, Sammy Davis in second, and the number 9, Thirsty Rebel in third. So finish off why you like these two underneath.
Yeah, with Sammy Davis, I do not want to be I don't want to let this horse beat me when this horse gets to the lead. Pretty fast horse, and I think that a horse has shown that when it does get to the lead, is able to kind of get away from some, and that could be the case in here again. As you pointed, Kyle, John Sadler's been really, really good with his 2-year-olds, specifically this year alone. His numbers are just unbelievable. And I definitely want to have Sammy Davis on my ticket, and as well as Thirsty Rebel for Doug O'Neill. I wanted to get a little info from our West Coast guys and see if they could get was Shane, right? Shane O'Neill.
Yep.
See if we could get some info on this horse, because this horse on debut at Del Mar ran a really nice race.
Yeah.
And I really liked the way that horse was able to draw away in the stretch. But I did question why they put this horse on the turf last time in the Speakeasy. So that might be able to get you a better price, though. And I think that horse has a big chance sitting right off the pace setters.
And of course, nothing against Abel Escano, but again, you have IRADs on the 3 and everything
Yeah.
else. So connections wise, you could also say it could take a hit. Price wise, some are probably around your middling prices, 3, 4, 5 to 1, somewhere in there will be Thirsty Rebel. You could argue, yeah, why did they throw him on the turf last time out? That was against Open Company going the flat 5. So this will be a much different race in here for Thirsty Rebel, who arguably is just as good as any of them in the 2 dirt starts that he has run. The only other horse I want to talk about, actually, no, you talked about Sammy Davis, and of course, you have the 2 on top, but there's a ton of other, even, Pavlovian for Doug O'Neill and Juan Hernandez hops aboard this one, ran behind Ocean Bear last time, another one to pick up the pieces. It's just a very, very close competitive field of these calibreds to end the late pick 5, and again to kick off the Breeders' Cup festivities after this race. Pat, of course, we don't have best bets, but I do want to throw it to you, as this will be the last time people will see us on the air before Breeders' Cup goes off. And we can actually open up to you for any race that you want, but especially on Friday, who are you looking to or who are you looking forward to most betting and watching on Friday?
Yeah, that'll be an all-in-one answer. Actually, I really have just seeing in the juvenile turf sprint, seeing Schwarzenegger in person. Working at Saratoga before his debut, have an affinity for that horse. I just think that horse is ultra talented, ultra fast, and I really want to see that horse against this type of field. And I'm going to be betting the horse. It's a tough race. I'm not saying it's my best bet, but what I'm saying is I just this is a horse that I've been trying to follow. And he's been betting both of his races, but Kyle, that's the horse I'm definitely most intrigued about on what did we call it on Friday? The juvenile Friday. I forget the
Yep.
term that we like to use. Future Stars Friday. Future
There
Stars
we go.
Friday.
We got there in the end, ladies and gentlemen. But no, and I didn't ask you for your best bet. I asked you for who you were most excited to see, and mine's precise, guys. I mean, really, it comes down to it. I know there's a ton of people that were like, "Oh, we got the 13 and whatever." She's so much better on paper than everybody else in this race. And actually, there was a video that Peter Thomas Fornatail did with Frank Scattoni, and Frank highlighted a really good point: the fact that last year the turf winners on Friday were like the 9 hole, the 12 hole, and the 1 hole and the 12 hole last year. And then on Saturday, there was also I think 4 out of the 5 horses were outside the 8 hole that won on the turf, including a couple from the 11 and the 12 hole. So don't the thing is that he said is don't let those outside posts sway you. If you have an opinion, it's a decent run to that first turn in the juvenile turf. It's a mile. It's a mile. So actually, it's not the biggest run up to the first turn, but she's going to want to tuck in anyway. She's going to want to be towards the back, just like Lake Victoria did, who was on the rail last year. I'm not going to let that dissuade me if that dissuades other people. And if that horse somehow goes off above even money, dude, there's going to be irresponsible amounts of money placed on that horse. And we'll see how the day ends for me, of course, on Friday. Pat will be the person to see firsthand whether I half drown myself in the pool or not after that. But Pat, of course, it's going to be an absolute fun time. And we have a ton more stuff coming out for you guys for the Breeders' Cup, including early Breeders' Cup races covered by the Pacific Horseplayer guys, Noah, Ryan, and Jackson. Also has a tape show coming out either today or tomorrow, that being Tuesday or Wednesday. If you're watching after that, it's probably already out. But also live Tuesday night and Wednesday night, both at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have Picks and Ponies, Howard, Pete, and Paul are covering the late pick 5 for both Breeders' Cup Friday and Breeders' Cup Saturday. A whole slew of Breeders' Cup information we also have the Aidan O'Brien interview. We have the International Horses preview with Davey Lane and Emmett Kennedy of the Final Furlong podcast. Just an absolute ton of information. So if you guys are all interested, I know you are, go check out our other Breeders' Cup and our other Breeders' Cup podcasts that we have here on the channel. For my co-host, Patrick Kunsel, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, and a special taped edition of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast, covering the early pick 5 on Breeders' Cup Friday. And this Breeders' Cup weekend, everyone, crush those bets, win those photos. Stay safe, everyone. We'll see you the next time we see you. Have a good night.